2 sessions prior to this one, and we have been highlighting the 10 pillar plan that is supposed to be essential in restoring our economy. As you know, Dr. Thomson Fontaine, an economist by profession, a man who has worked in different regions of the world, and of course, he has assisted many economies, or to say many governments, restore their economy. Well, tonight we are live, and you can get us on youtube.com/at UWP Team Dominica. You could also get us on the UWP Facebook page, Team Dominica, and you can get us at uwp-dominica.com/live-stream. It's important for this program because we have now decided to actually communicate to the wider public using social media, and a number of persons have requested doing so. And so we have yielded to the suggestion and have so far been, doing at the wish of the people. So Dr. Thomson Fontaine, let me welcome you to this program once more again. I mean, today was a very bright day. Some time ago, we were just really going to the meat of our program. And by the way, tonight we'll be looking at one of our pillars, the social aspect of our program, the social aspect of our 10 pillars. So this will be highlighted with other, associated issues. But Doc, I know you have been monitoring the weather, and so far, sometime last week, we have been threatening the weather, but so far, the Atlantic seemed to be again quiet. What is your predictions based on what you have been hearing?
Well, good night, so, and of course, let me say a special good night to all of our many viewers across the globe that are now, many of them coming on now, but we strive to begin on time at 8 o'clock sharp, and we're very happy that they're able to join us. Last week, around that time, we were talking about the possibility of a storm, and then we indicated that it would most likely miss us. But that happened. We had Hurricane Erin that is still around the area of Puerto Rico, in that area there today as we speak. But we are a little bit concerned about another system that is on its way. And this time, the forecasters are predicting that it may very well pass close to the islands, and that includes from St. Lucia to our south up to Antigua in the north. They are not obviously it is 5 days away or 4 days away, because that's on Friday. So they're not precise in terms of the actual tracking. But it is expected that there would at least be a tropical depression, possibly a tropical storm, by the time it gets to the islands. And Dominica may very well be one of those islands that has to contend with this in a couple of days' time on Friday.
Oh, yes, thank you. And so we keep watching and we keep our fingers crossed that nothing happens, not to Dominica, not to any of the islands. And I believe good Lord knows better. He will guide us and ride us out of the storm, and we will prevail. Well, Doc, we're getting straight into it. We know we have presented as a party, in Advocacy Party Team Dominica, a 10-pillar plan to the Dominican people. And so far, the reception has been good. It has been well received. And a number of persons are buying into it. In fact, a number of persons have been indicating that this is the way to go. Now hearing more of our plans as opposed to probably, trying to concentrate on, the Prime Minister, who likes to hear his name called. I mean, we will call it when necessary, but for now, we need to get to the business of the people, because Dominica needs to get out from this economic morass that it has found itself. And so, Doc, tonight we're going to explore and expand and just sort of review the social program, one of the aspects of our 10 pillars. And probably the listeners would like to know, what is it about and why is it so important to the Dominican people?
Yes, so thanks very much for this, and thanks for the opportunity once again, that we are able to we can be there talking about this very important issue. And of course, this is one of the pillars that we are looking at, this pillar of social equity. We have been talking about our shared dependence and also our shared prosperity. The goal of the 10 pillars is to ensure shared prosperity for all Dominicans. And that means uh, every Dominican, including our elderly citizens, our senior citizens. There is a pillar in there where we tackle the issue of senior citizens and those who are more vulnerable amongst us. And this is very important because we believe that in Dominica in particular, there are a lot of peculiarities around the senior citizens that we must address. One of them being that, to begin with, the population, the senior citizen population, or population is aging very, very quickly. And there is a suggestion that by the year 2050, as much as a quarter of the population will be over the age of 60. And that is a very frightening prospect when you consider some of the peculiarities that we have with our elderly population. So, for example, you have a number of individuals who have never worked in the formal employment sector, in the sense that they were either farmers or, in some cases, self employed and never had social security. So you have literally thousands of Dominicans who will get to the age of 70 or 65 or 70 and realize that they can no longer work for themselves. They are retired, they can no longer work, but they have nothing to fall back on. Because if you're a farmer, for example, there is no safety net for you. So there is a large segment of our population, of our elderly population, that has absolutely no social safety net. Now, what has happened is that this government, Labour Party government, what they have attempted to do is to exploit this loophole. And the way they have addressed it, or at least attempted to address this particular issue, is to throw $300, I believe $300 to the elderly citizens. Now, when you think about it, $300 in this day and age, especially if the individual is living alone, especially if the individual has no one to look after them, $300, while it may sound like a lot for a lot of people, and a lot of people are very grateful for it, it really, at the end of the day, is not much. But that is the government's attempt to deal with this issue. We believe, as the United Workers' Party Team Dominica, that we have a better solution to this problem. And or not really a problem, but the challenge, because that's really a challenge that the government has. And so what we're attempting to do is to come up with a program that will ensure that individuals are catered for through our social safety net. Okay, so one of the things that we are going to be having is that we are going to have a program where every individual that is in need will be able to receive assistance from the government. Now, bear in mind, there will be some elderly persons who will have the families who can support them. Okay, so we have persons who will not need that support from government because they probably have their children who can support them, or the family members who can take care of them in their old age. But there will be a certain number of individuals who will not have that access, who will not have that support. And that's the government steps in. And the way we intend to tackle this issue is through a welfare system that is well planned, well sourced, and also well staffed. Okay, we have a lot of young persons that will be trained in the area of social work. So you'll have social workers who will be able to identify those individuals who are in need. And at the end of the day, we'll be able to offer a package that will take care, not only offering them $300, but will take care of their health needs. Because as individuals age, one of the biggest concerns is their health needs. How do they get this medication paid for that may cost $500 a month? All right. How do you ensure that they get the care that they need? All right. So that program will be arranged and organized by the welfare department, that, as I said, is well staffed, is well sourced. They'll be given a budget from government budget to take care of this. And there are different ways that this will be funded, of course, because obviously there's the issue of funding. It has to be funded. But this is something that we believe at the end of the day, it is fundamentally important to take care of our elderly citizens. Okay, because we believe that these are individuals who have spent all of their lives in Dominica, who have given all of their working lives, some of them, whether they were housewives or farmers or whatever it is, given their time, their service to this country. And at the end of the day, they must be treated right, they must be treated fairly. And I stress the issue of fairness, because we have a program, even if that program has been organized by the government, it is not fair. All right,
That's
it
correct.
is not fair in the sense that you have individuals who, even though they qualify based on their age and their need, are not being given the support because some of them are perceived to be not supportive of the government, and that we're saying must stop. You cannot have a situation where you're rewarding persons based on their support for you. That is not right. It's not fair. And it's something that we believe we will be able to deal with by having an independent arm of government that is well staffed with trained individuals, being able to take care of that particular issue.
Yes, and I'm happy that you mentioned this because some time ago, and I want to correlate that with the level of poverty as well, because some time ago, although it's dated, we had the country poverty assessment, which was conducted sometime in 2009. As I said, it's been dated, but we also seen that report where the Kalinago territory has experienced over 70% of indigence. That is very, very poor. And in fact, this country poverty assessment report has also assisted this present government to identify four more parishes that may be well on their way to experiencing, not like the level that the Kalinago territory experienced, but they are confessing that this has revealed four more parishes have been able to at least been experiencing poverty, maybe not indigence. And these parishes consist of the parish of these are St. Patrick Parish and the St. Patrick Parish, the St. Joseph Parish, the St. Andrew Parish, and the St. David Parish. I mean, this is very much alarming and concerning for us because already we know that in the St. Joseph area, we experience more than, according to that same report, we experience more than and 50 plus percent poverty. And so the St. Joseph Parish consists of St. Joseph Village, Salisbury, Kulibistry, Meru, Monrachet, and Bells. And Doc, we know by and large, these four parishes that I've mentioned, we know for sure many of these villages, they have been agriculturally, connected. And so far we have seen that decline in agriculture, which means that we have seen a decline in rural revenues or the rural economy. So coupled with that though, and what you're just talking about with respect to enhancing the whole social program to let people feel a sense of need, a sense of belonging, a sense of pride. Because really, if your rural economy is broken down, and by and large, the source of income is to come from the agricultural sector, now that is on the decline. This is properly whittled now, nothing coming in. The social program, it is not, based on the program the government have, it is not targeted at every Dominican, it's a selected few. And even if you have a selected few, they really don't they never get something substantial to keep them going. Doc, how it is that we can really, really look at this holistically and develop a framework. And as you rightly explained some of the things already, but how can we really get out of this? Because we have a problem. We have a problem at our.
Yes. Yes, so you're absolutely correct. It's a big problem, and as I said, you have, I believe, just from my casual observation, that the majority, probably not the vast, but the majority of elderly persons, even living in Dominica right now, would not have gone through the formal work process where they contribute to social security, they're not retired, and they're getting a pension. Because as I said, Dominica, a lot of 70% of the population is in the rural areas. They depend upon agriculture. There is no pension plan for agriculture. That's very important. The second thing, to note is the health issue. As persons age, their demand for healthcare skyrockets. They need to be able to purchase medicines and so on. And that is where the National Health Plan, that is part of our 10 pillars for Dominica, comes in. Because if you have a national health plan, you'll be able to cover our senior citizens under this health plan so that when they fall sick or if they fall sick, they will have access to healthcare. They will have access to medicines. So that is how we are going to deal with that particular issue. Okay, so that takes care of their health needs. And then the contribution, again, we will leave it up to the experts to tell us what size of contribution is reasonable. And it will definitely be more than $300 because I don't believe $300 can do much for you in today's Dominica. And I feel very sorry for persons because sometimes they have to make a choice. Do they purchase food with that $300? Do they pay a bill or do they pay for some health care from $300? And you know that $300 is not much. You walk into a supermarket and you come out with a grocery and a half, a grocery bag and a half, possibly, for your $300. So that is not a lot of money. So what we plan to do, and that is a key part of our 10 pillar project, is to ensure that they are well taken care of, and not only the elderly, but in that group will be persons who may be going through hard times. Okay, so for example, you may have young persons who may be looking for temporary assistance because they may be moving between jobs and they just need a one-time assistance to help them to come on their feet. They might need a 2-month rent or something to help them. The whole thing is that if you have social workers who are in tuned to the different constituents and they know who is where and what is to be required, you can in fact provide that kind of support. So we're not only talking about the elderly, but we're talking about the vulnerable people amongst us. Because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that we have shared prosperity for all Dominicans. So it is not just those who can make it, but where persons are struggling, where they're having difficulty, then we want them to be able to depend upon government. So the plan we have is an ambitious one, but it's one we believe can work because it will be done in a professional manner. It will be done in a caring manner. But at the end of the day, we'll be able to take care of the people who gave birth to us, of the people who care deeply about this country, chose not to migrate, but who, coming towards the end of their lives, need that support, need that stability, need that care, need that love. And we believe that a government that truly cares will be able to provide it through a well-planned, well-arranged, well-organized system. And of course, and the question everybody is saying, well, how are you going to fund this? Because obviously that will take some funding.
That's correct.
Because we are talking about a national healthcare plan that will cover our elderly. We're talking about some type of stipend that will be given to persons in need, but there are ways of doing this. There are different ways. I mean, one possibility is that you could, for example, you could introduce a surcharge on persons who are working within the government, for example. I'm just saying that could be one way. I'm not saying that is the eventual thing that we will do, but you could have a surcharge where persons contribute a $5 of their paycheck every month. All right. And that $5 will go towards that particular program. There are other ways. We could, for example, identify within the revenue envelope of government, we could identify certain areas where monies that are earned by government can go into that social welfare system. Okay. The important thing is we will explore every opportunity. We'll explore every avenue to ensure that that program is well funded. But of course, we cannot know the extent or the amount until we get into office. We do these surveys so we know what the need is. And once the need is established, we'll be able to budget around it. But I want to give the assurance to the Dominican public that the United Workers' Party Team Dominica cares deeply about the elderly, We care deeply about those who are less vulnerable amongst us, those who will require assistance, and we will ensure, as a responsible government, that the people who are in need are able to get that support from government in a manner that is non-partisan, in a manner that is not based on their political persuasion, who they support, but will depend solely on need. And the way you do that is to ensure that you have a highly trained and professional staff that are handling those particular affairs. I can
Yes,
give you guarantee, so it will not be in the hands of the parent.
yes,
10 people.
and yes, transparency, good policies directed at ensuring that should be shared prosperity. Reality is that every Dominican will be cared for. But Doc, I know Transparency International has said clearly that there is a direct correlation between poverty and corruption, or corruption and poverty. And we have seen in recent times that massive amounts of unaccountability with respect to this government. They don't account, particularly the CBI. And I would like one at the end of the day, so that you could at least echo loudly and to the Dominican people that you'll be leading a government that is corruption free. That is one. But something which hurts me to the core, and I know many Dominicans are concerned about it. Doc, in terms of, you talk about savings, and I'm happy that you start identifying certain areas, probably that is possible, that we could source funding to sustain our social programs. But Doc, I cannot believe this is unconscionable. A prime minister is renting a house on the state for $64,000 a month. This equates to about $780,000 a year. And so far, it has surpassed 5 years, which means that it has surpassed over 3 million. Should it end up in 10 years, would have paid over $10 million. $7 million. Doc, I would like you to reiterate to the Dominican people, because you have said it before, that because you are going to operate on a lean government, including finding a residence for the prime minister, not in that elaborate form like we see now. All these are part of the saving efforts and what you have been pointing to, because I cannot understand how it is one individual with a small family could see it fundamentally important to rob the state $780,000 a year just to be in a rented apartment. Doc, can you put these things into perspective? Not forgetting that we are going to be a government that we are not going to be affiliated with any form of corruption, because that's what kills a country. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for the opportunity to make that point. And when you think about it, I mean, this is unconscionable. This $64,000, and at some point, the prime minister should be made to repay the office. He should be made to repay the people of Dominica. You understand? Because I believe that is an outrage. That is, it flies in the face of the kind of country that we know Dominica to be. That one individual could have such extravagance, could be living large, so to speak, on the backs of the poor, hardworking people of Dominica. And you talked about poverty earlier. It is a fact that Dominica is among the poorer countries in the region, notwithstanding the tremendous riches that this country possesses. Yet, you find that we are among the poorest, and a lot of it has to do with bad government policy, including a policy that takes away $64,000 for rental property on the prime minister. For the prime minister, you could build between that time. You could have built a beautiful home for the residence for the prime minister that would be passed on, for whoever takes it off his necks. That could have been done, rather than that extravagance. So what this tells me is also that there is a lot of areas that you can cut. There's a lot of fat in government that you'll be able to cut, so that you can fund some of those social programs we are talking about. Okay, so our social program it will not be a $300 to the elderly. It will be looking after the needs of the elderly in a manner that they are satisfied, that they don't have to worry about their latter years. Okay, because you'll have a government that is socially conscious, that will take care of the needs of the people. And so I want to give that assurance, as we look at the spending patterns of this government, as we look at the tremendous waste that is within government. In this day and age, government should have already, for example, shifted to solar panels on its buildings to save on electrical costs. That is something they could have done. We see a number of vehicles, government vehicles, being driven at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at nights when the government is effectively shut down. So there's tremendous waste that is going on. That if that is tackled, that'll be able to bring in a lot of savings. And then you have the issue, of course, of the very large cabinet, 18 ministers plus another 7 previous ministers who have been given positions, some positions within government, notwithstanding that they're enjoying their pension from parliament, but yet they're given those positions at exorbitant rates. So there is a lot of areas that we believe will be able to cut back as far as spending is concerned and be able to divert those resources into where they're most needed. And one of the biggest needs that we have identified is our elderly people. We will do it with love and care in a manner, as I said, that will not look at the color of whom you vote for, but will be done solely on the basis of need. And I cannot stress that enough. But I want the people of Dominica to understand that our programs will be party neutral. By that I mean, it will not depend on which party you support, but it will be governed by legislation. It will be governed by an ethic. It will be governed by a government that is not bowed by corruption and will not be used. And quite frankly, we see in this particular instance, and I want to make this point very, very, very strongly to our listeners, it is my view that the government has been using this whole idea of the $300 contribution as a means to gain votes. And that's the reason why they favor some and don't favor the others, because that to them is not really caring about the elderly, but how do you gain their support? How do you gain their allegiance so that when they go to the polls, they vote for you? And that should not be. We should not be taking advantage of the vulnerable amongst us. We should not be taking advantage of those who definitely need the support of government, who've given their lives to this country and who in the last few years need the support of government. They should not be taken advantage of. And that is very important. And let me just comment finally on the whole issue of corruption. And that is something, as you said, the more corrupt a country is the greater the level of poverty. And there's a simple reason for that. The reason why you find countries with corrupt governments are laden with poverty is because the resources that would otherwise go to support the government programs, that would otherwise go to, for example, paying to ensure that your nurses and your police officers and your prison wardens and so on, to ensuring that these individuals are well compensated and well taken care of, these monies are put into the back pockets of the politicians. And so it does not go where it is needed. And that is a major problem that we have in this country. We have a major issue of corruption where we see literally tens of millions of dollars being diverted outside of government resources. We see a very strange phenomenon, for example, where the Prime Minister's office has almost a quarter, if not 30% of the budget, and you wonder why. Why should all of that money be directed into that office of the Prime Minister? This money is in the past. The largest share of the budget went to agriculture. It went to public works. It went to where the work was being done, where the need was. Now we've moved completely away from that. We will restore those resources to the appropriate governments, to the appropriate ministries within the government, so that we can ensure that the resources of the state are well used and well and that those resources go directly towards the uses and the needs that they are. One of those needs that we have identified, I'll say it again, one of the needs that we have identified, given the fact that so many of our elderly people are cut off from our social security system, one of the needs is to ensure that the elderly are cared for with regards to their health, with regards to their care, and with regards to any kind of stipend that will be given to them, which, by the way, will be more than $300.
Right. And you know, I know you've placed emphasis on our senior citizens. Of course, they have worked hard for the state in many respects. Some of them may not have been gainfully employed, but somehow they contributed it. They contributed either directly or indirectly in nation building, and they've played their part. But just side by side of this, we have also the National Employment Program, which employs a lot of NEP persons, and the government boasts of the NEP workers, you know, like as well as their pride and so, and you know, we know they are not paid sufficiently. And we know too that the jobs that they hold are not sustainable. And so we have been talking about, you know, creating the enabling environment so that these jobs can be sustainable and to even deploy some of these people into areas of skill work so that there can be scope for upward mobility. Because if you are well trained, you are in some skill set, then it's two things can either happen. Either you continue work for the government where you can earn your salary, or you can become an entrepreneur with respect to providing your own services to the communities. And so I know this is dear to your heart with respect to maintaining this program. We as a party have decided and we will not stop this program. You have said it over and over again. And you have always been talking about sustainability of these things, because if you are doing something without, you know, sustainability, something that cannot sustain itself, then it means that somehow, you know, you may have to pack up shop. And I know that you have been echoing that for many years as the political leader. And even before you became the political leader of the United Workers' Party Team Dominica, you were of the view, and as many other persons were of the view, that this program should be sustainable. Do you see scope for this program being sustainable?
In the current form, it probably is not sustainable because if, for example, God forbid, if the CBI resources were to be cut because of the visa restrictions and other problems that's been encountered now, if those problems take root and you have a shortfall in CBI revenues, one of the first programs to be impacted is the NEP program. You're talking about possibly $6 million or so every month that goes into the NEP program. But at the same time, that is $6 million that is not sustainable. And that's the reason why we have put forward in the 10 pillars a plan to make the National Employment Program sustainable. And the way you make the NEP program sustainable is, as you rightly pointed out, ensure that the individuals have access to training, ensure that our young people have access to training, okay, that they're able to have or earn a skill set. Another part of it, and because of the incredible aggressive policy we have as it relates to establishment of factories, establishment of an essential oils industry, agro-processing, manufacturing, you know, all of those areas, you'll be able to put these young people in those areas where they're able to earn, you know. So it's not only are they earning a salary, which, by the way, once they start to make stuff, then obviously that will ensure a sustained salary and a much higher salary. It removes that burden away from government and puts it on the quality of the product, so that the more they're more able to build those products and so on and export them, is the more income that's going to come to them. So we have a plan to transform the National Employment Program where our young people will be the ones leading the way in skills training, leading the way in AI, leading the way in of course AI, artificial intelligence, leading the way in manning the factories, in doing the marketing, you know, in doing the advertising. That is the way we deal with this issue of the young people. Okay, so that the individuals who are right now going to school, working hard, when they come out, they can look forward to something. So it will be a whole, the National Employment Program targeted to, in particular, the young people, will be one of giving them skills, but importantly, so you talked about it, importantly, making it sustainable. And the way you make that sustainable is by ensuring that you have a system of job creation, and those jobs that are created themselves able to earn money. You're able to earn an income, you're able to earn export earnings. And in that way, the program becomes so sustainable. And for the part, the cohort, the section of the young people who are trained, they'll be trained in skill sets that will allow them now to be weaned off of government and be able to work in the private sector. Because at the heart again of our 10 pillar project is the realization that the government of Dominica should not be the biggest employer, that employment must take place within the private sector. So a lot of that will be ensuring that when these individuals, they will be there to support the private sector, and we'll have a growing private sector which sustains them, so that it does not have that monthly drain on the resources of the government. But they will take the responsibility to train them, will take the responsibility to create those jobs that will be able to ensure that these individuals go in. So again, we need to give the assurance to 8 persons who are working within the National Employment Program that we will not take your jobs from you. The United Workers' Party Team Dominica promises to be a responsible government. And as a responsible government, whatever exists, we will look to improve upon, not to get rid of. And one of the ways we've just outlined to you how we are going to improve upon the National Employment Program to ensure that it is sustainable, but more importantly, to ensure that whatever it is you're making now, you can make that living wage. We've talked about a living wage in Dominica in the region of $2,000 minimum. That is where we're headed. That is what we are focused on.
Yes, and so we have some listeners there, and I mean, some remarks have been made. Let me read a few of them. Just imagine if the money that was stolen to build, well, allegedly stolen to build the House of Dark Secret, was invested in healthcare and much needed supplies for our hospital. What a great healthcare system would have. And somebody is saying the NEP should be put in the man, where people will only stay on the NEP for enough time. Let's say probably on Tuesday, can be independent on whatever trade they would thought. So you teach them to do all sorts of things, plumbing, construction and the likes, carpentry, decorating, just endless. And after they can find jobs, they can be, be on their own. And they may not even be necessarily called NEP workers again, or because it's a never-ending poverty. But let me say, though, that coupled with all what have been said earlier by you, we have, you spoke about youth empowerment and the whole idea of retention of our young people. And because the harsh reality is that given the economic, social, and political climate here in Dominica, there's a level of uncertainty that doesn't leave it right to the young people. And to me, some of them are frustrated and they are deciding either to stay or to leave. And we have seen a mass migration of our resource persons. And so I know that we have a lot of plans for young persons. And should this government, I know they are going, but should they continue to serve if they do not voluntarily resign now and just give it up because they cannot do it anymore, so that fresh blood can come in to revamp this economy? I'm afraid that we are going to witness more or increased movement of persons or migration from Dominica to overseas. What can you tell our young persons who are contemplating even living from tonight or tomorrow? Because I know there's hope based on the 10 pillar program. And I know we are serious about developing Dominica. And this plan will go in a national plan that will actually get the input of many other persons. It is just now in a framework, and to get the ideas of other persons so that we can have a national plan, a national development plan to resuscitate aspects of our economy. So I would like people to hear from you. what is really coming out from your heart, because some people are aching as we speak. I spoke to a young person today, and the frustration level is high. Doc, they are relying on you, they are waiting on you. What can you say about this?
You see, for the 10 pillars to succeed, I believe that we need the full support and participation of the young people in particular, because it is young people are seen as the lifeblood of any country. They're the ones that can work the long hours. They're the ones that have the energy, and they're the ones most times that have the raw ideas that can turn businesses and create wealth and do stuff, So it's important that, we have a problem now where we have really high migration out of Dominica, and in particular our young people. And that is what has been contributing as well to the aging population, because the people of childbearing age are migrating. So you're not replacing, as it were, the stock of the population. So this high migration will continue, because as a young person, rather than sit in Dominica frustrated, you're at the prime of your life. You need to work. You need to find gainful employment. So you run overseas. We believe the same way that our Dominicans in their thousands are going to Antigua, to St. Kitts and Nevis, different countries in the Caribbean, the United States, and elsewhere, that they'll be flocking back to Dominica, because in Dominica, they will find a kind of jobs that are well paying, good paying jobs, but they will also be able to contribute to building their country. And so I'm I'm of the firm conviction that as we succeed with building the economy of Dominica, as we succeed in creating those jobs, that we'll be able to attract our Dominicans back to Dominica. And that's the promise that I am making to the people of Dominica, that once we get into office and we begin that process, we want them back here to help, to staff the factories, to manage the factories, to do what they need to do to ensure that together we can lift this country. And it is possible. It is possible. And I believe that, in talking to our young people, while they are discouraged, and many of them are looking for the exit, I believe that we continue to produce brilliant Dominicans. Our school system, as we improve on our school system, we'll get even better graduates out of the school system, and that will form the basis or the foundation of a workforce that can help to build this country in a way that is sustainable, in a way that will last. And so, I'm very optimistic about the future of Dominica, and even more optimistic about the role of the young people in helping to create that future.
Yes, and so one of our callers, listener, saying, "Well, look, and they like this program. They like the way you put it, and basically, what is you are saying is that we can use the NEP, introducing skill sets to fit the employment market, that is required, because and we go to the next question, because oftentimes the government boasts about sending people to further their education, but may not have done a needs assessment with respect to what the country needs going forward. And so they send people and study, but not looking at what the country requires, for what the country requires in respect going forward. Do we really need a plant a pathologist? Normally, a pathologist comes overseas to do autopsy on bodies in Dominica. I don't think we have one right now called our own from Dominica. If that is the case, then I'm subject to correction. But I know we do not have one. And so our head is where we go into to send people to further their studies based on the country needs. And also too, I know you have the view, and you look at Dominica's development with respect to developing this country holistically. It is not about just Dominicans living in Dominica, but Dominicans who have the right skill set, who are trained and well equipped with the knowledge, who are professionals living in the diaspora. I know you have spoken about tapping the resources of these Dominicans to help in nation building. Probably too, under your watch, you may well see input coming out from the diaspora with respect to how you would like to see the budget direct and encompass some sort of plan to increase the diaspora participation and how monies can be allocated to facilitate them helping us. So I want us to look now at, while we're talking about matching skill set with the employment market, it's something that we have to look at with respect to training our young people, because some of the fields that some of the young people undertake with respect to studies may be saturated, probably the business field. And so I know with you being there, you will ensure that countries that offer in Dominican student scholarship, you can actually negotiate with them as a government to say, look, this is the area where we would like to expend our young people's energy with respect to earning their skill and their professional development. And so this is the way that to develop a country. Over time, the government can boast about sending, people to study. What they cannot boast about is how many came back and are contributing to the development of the country. So I suspect you are already looking in this direction. Can you speak of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we have a situation where the government of Dominica boasts, as you said, they boast of the tremendous amount of money that they spend on training Dominicans. But where are those Dominicans? All right, where they are not in Dominica, developing Dominica. When I was young and I just left school, and I was given a scholarship to go and study by the government of Dominica, I was bonded. I had to find somebody to sign a bond for me for I think it was 3 years, either 3 or 4 years. And some time ago, I was going through my papers and I actually saw the blue form that I had signed. And what it was is that you had to give your commitment that you would return to Dominica upon the completion of your studies and give at least 3 years of service to the country. The government of Dominica, this current government, has stopped this because they simply do not have jobs to give the people. But they continue to spend literally millions of dollars on educating the young people of Dominica. But at the end of the day, they are not making any contribution to Dominica. I believe that there is room for reintroducing that bond process. I was quite happy to come back and contribute to my country because they had given me the opportunity to go and study. And probably without that support of government, I would not have been able to go out and study. And also at that time, it was based on ability. Persons who got scholarships are people who generally tend to have been better students or brighter students. So it was a merit-based system. So we can reintroduce a merit-based system of training our people, but ensuring that at the end of the day, they come back and contribute. And under the 10 pillars, where we are creating jobs, where we are reinvesting in agriculture, where we are reinvesting in renewable energies, where we are reinvesting in our cultural industries, and we are reinvesting in music and the entertainment industry. When we're doing all of this that are targeted towards young people, we want them to come back. We will provide the training as this government has been doing. We'll provide that training, but we want them to come back and contribute. Do a 3-4 years, and if you want to move on after that, it's okay, but you need to give something back in return for it. And that, I think, is a good way to go forward, because it will ensure that you can also target the areas that you like. So, for example, persons should be trained in the area that has to do with renewable energies. We want Dominicans to be trained in artificial intelligence. We obviously want Dominicans to continue to be trained in medicine, because we need good, skilled medical people manning our health systems in the country. So there are lots of areas that we can entertain our people to work in, but it has to be done well, and that so that those millions of dollars that are spent on educating the people of Dominica, that this is an investment that will pay back to the country, and I believe that's very, very important.
Yes, and one other person is stating here that 3 major projects in Dominica soon will complete. Well, I don't know how soon the international airport will complete. It is stated here, the marina, the cable car, and so forth. Well, of course, we had an aerial tram before. We had that before. It has contributed many years of, economic, stability in our country. A lot of people in Loda area, when the area tram was functioning, got employed. I think they were generating in terms of paying fees and in salaries over $2 million. We've lost that for now 10 years now. Thank God the developer for the aerial tram collaborating with government is a good thing. Government provided the land, but thank God the developer has shown level of resilience and will continue. And soon this project will over. As for the international airport, I know our party, United Workers Party, while had a short stunt in government, was the first party that took the international airport very seriously. With respect to paying off for lands, all the lands were paid off for. The geotechnical studies were actually undertaken, were conducted. This time an airport is happening. We heard about 40% completion. I don't know under what milestone that is coming up, whether it's on digging earth or whether the foundation, I don't know. So far, it is not clear that 40% completion is anything new, anything close. However, we wish those projects well. The sad thing about it, though, Doc, is that the international airport is being funded by the CBI. I think the marina itself, CBI, the cable car to some respects, I think a lot of the developers fund when they do it. But by and large, these two big projects, particularly international airport, yet we see Dominicans are struggling for job, even about truckers. So yes, while it is true that we would like to see the completion of these projects, but also too is a sad reality when Dominicans cannot be employed to bring some meaningful economic change in their lives. Because remember, we have Dominicans who have trucks. Some time ago, they were engaged in carrying cement. That's the most we see them involved in. What about our skilled people who are trained to be on the project? We have a lot of architects. We have a lot of contractors. Where are they? They are out of the picture. And I know under United Workers Party Team Dominica, we will see. While it is true that we will have to rely on foreign expertise, but at least we have to use what we have too. And I know you are one person as the leader or the next prime minister of this country. I believe you are keen in bringing respect to the Dominican public, with respect to those who are trained with the necessary skills and expertise to get involved in big capital projects as these. So, I mean, Doc, I know the world, you have been reiterating this, and that's a reality that Dominicans, by and large, are out of the picture with respect to earning tangibly from these jobs.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest problem that I see in terms of, yes, those projects are good, they're ongoing. But what about the human resource? What about the ability to train our people? Not only train our people, but to have our people benefit fully from those projects. So yeah, we welcome the projects. The aerial tram, I think, is the only one project that is predominantly Dominican. I think you have the majority of workers there are Dominican workers. This is good, but this should be replicated on the international airport and elsewhere. I believe that anywhere you have a major capital project, and we spoke about that last week, we talked about ensuring that the people of Dominica have a stake in those projects and that the contracts must reflect a minimum share of the work going to locals. Because one of the things that you'll be doing, you'll be building those skills, whether it's engineering, whether it is equipment maintenance or use, whatever it is, within the confines of that project, you'll be imparting skills and knowledge to your local population. And that I believe is very important. So that when we start to build things, they're being built by Dominicans for Dominica. So this is something that I believe deeply in, and we've not done a very good job of, but it's something so that when we boast about those projects, let us boast about the thousands of Dominicans that are gainfully employed in those projects. Let us boast about the skills that have been gained and the knowledge that is coming out of those projects to our Dominican public. Until we can do that, really, we don't have much to say about this. Yeah, we are thankful for the airport. We are thankful for the cable car. We believe it will bring some tourists and so on. But at the end of the day, you want that important skill set. You want that transferred to your population You want your people to find gainful employment. You want the jobs to go to your people. And, so that's where I believe a responsible government, again, has to ensure that those things happen. You must be able to insist as a government that a certain percent of the work goes to your locals, goes to locals. That's always going to be on our government. We will ensure that happens. We will ensure that happens. That the people of Dominica are gainfully employed on those projects, and that we have the expertise. We develop the expertise where we don't have it, but at the end of the day, you're building up your skill set amongst the population. And that, I believe, is something that we are offering to the people of Dominica. Another important difference between the UWP Team Dominica government and a Dominica Labour Party government.
Well, yes, and I really want to thank you for that, because you have been coming out clear and precise and decisive as to what it is that we see ahead of us with respect to restoring our economy. And Nep Packet was not able to be with us tonight because he's still traveling along his way from work, but he's able to participate online, and he's saying here, and he makes sense, and I'll read. He's talking about link innovation to local problems. Nothing builds purpose like solving issues that directly impact your community. Probably water shortages. What about water shortages? You can develop low-cost rainfall capture systems. Import dependency. They can grow high-value crops or make local substitutes. Climate change. They can design coastal protection models using local materials. When young people see their innovations making visible change, living starts to feel less attractive. And I will add to with that, I mean, you'll react, but let me just say too, even as we boast of our area charm and we talk about probably Dominica, and we have this that Whitey Kubuli trail. We could engage young people with respect to doing, the trail mapping, using portable GPS equipment to actually, record coordinates at certain points on the trail, so that if something happens at point A or point B, or maybe on segment 1, segment 2, based on the coordinates you have, you can relay that information back to a central command, and they can say, look, a person got injured on segment 5 at coordinate 5.5, whatever. Or you could use some feature. You could take the coordinates, so you could say at a shed, probably at the gourmet tree or whatever. You could use the features in the forest to actually use as landmarks to indicate persons being injured. Because these things sometimes can be precarious, the journeys. Sometimes not every time you meet favorable weather, you could meet an inclement weather conditions, and that could be hampering the progress. But your reaction to what NEPT has just actually broadcast there for us?
No, this is excellent. I mean, and that's the kind of thinking that we possess within the United Workers' Party Team Dominica. Individuals like NEP who are committed to it, make use of those resources, and as I said, and we have been warned as well, so that we should not reveal all of our plans on our program.
Yes,
because people are listening. I see a number of persons come on there on the fake names like John Brown and so on, trying to disrupt and show their ignorance, but we are not coyed. We are not bowed by this kind of behavior. We're having a very civil and serious discussion about the future of Dominica, and persons who truly care about Dominica should be listening and paying attention to what we're saying, and should not be trying to poke all kind of nonsense that petty politics. We have risen above that. We are at the point where we are speaking to the Dominican public on real issues, real solutions to the real problems that have been faced in this country. And tonight, I was very happy that we were able to talk about a real solution to the issue of the elderly. Persons who are not contributing to any social security program, but who at the end of the day will have needs, especially as they age, medical needs and other needs that will follow them. and how those need to be treated. So we do have a plan, for this country. And I'm proud that we have people like Nept and others like him, who support that process and who are positive and who will continue to contribute positively. And, at the end of the day, it is our commitment to country, it's our love for country, it's our desire to see Dominica grow and move beyond the way it is. And that to me is what is exciting about this. It's about, getting the trust of the Dominican public and having people realize, hey, there is a team of men and women that can change things around in this country. There is a team that cares deeply about this country, of thinking about solutions, looking at the challenges and seeing how those challenges can be tackled, and coming forth with solid solutions that will be able to make this country proud and make the people of this country proud. And will be able to bring in our diaspora to Dominica to work and to live and to build their homes and to make children in this country so that our population can grow. These are the things that excites me, because I believe that it is possible. It is possible that we get to that point, and we continue to meet every Monday, and I realize we're already out of time. We don't want
yes, certainly.
we don't want to go beyond. But even as we close those, so I just want to again appeal to our listeners. We are in the process of bringing change to Dominica. We're in the process of removing this Dominica Labour Party government at the next election. But for us to do that, we need the support of the public. We need your support financially. This is a political party that has a lot of work to do on the ground, a lot of rallies and meetings and different things to do. And we need the support of the public. And that's the reason why we are asking, as you visit our website, uwp-dominica.com, that is UWP- don't forget the hyphen between UWP and Dominica. So it's uwp-dominica.com. And once you're on that website, you will see at the top donation. Just click on that. Very simple. Click on the donation button, and you'll be able to make your contribution to the party. And that's what we are again appealing for. Your support is needed. Some of you are coming on board. We have gotten some great support since we started this Monday night program. That's our third edition. People are coming on board, but we need more support. We need more of your financial support. And we encourage you to, just go on there and help us so that we can make the change that is needed.
Oh, yes, and we're already out of time, but one person is saying his contribution for the legal fund will be in this week. And let me just say, we continue to dispel darkness at all times. We are not into rushing anybody out of our program. Everyone is free to participate. One thing, we will not be perturbed by those who are driven to their dark agendas. We will continue to stay focused and to represent the interests of the Dominican people. It's one thing you can say we have been out for 25 years, but the other thing you can say too, for 25 years, we have been standing up with the people. And we just want people to continue to stand up for us. And for those who cannot speak, we speak for them. For those who cannot, for those who continue to bury their heads in the sand, like the ostrich, we continue to lift our heads high and to bring out all of the ills of the society. So at least we are doing something progressive for Dominica. And I know the Labour Party can never stay there all of its time. In fact, the days are over. It's just come down to out of office. And the people are determined to get them out. They will be removed. They will be out. And so the people have already looked at a new vision. They are accepting that the United Workers' Party, Team Dominica, a party of inclusion, will take up the reins of government so that the shared prosperity that we talk about will actually impact positively on the Dominican public at large. So we just ask each and every one for their continued support. Dr. Thomson, Fontaine, I want to thank you for your time. I just want to thank you for the work that you do. And we await your time when you'll be serving the Dominican people so that they can measure results against talk. It's not just about talk, it's about measuring results. We are a party who is focused on doing what we have to do, but also focus on the results. We are also looking forward to results, to be results oriented, and we will get results. If you are the helm, things will happen, good things will happen. and Dominica is, poised to at least harvest the good work from what you will come to establish and to put forward for the young people to retain their dignity and to sustain their lives as they go forward. So let me just thank you for the work that you and let me thank everyone who participated tonight and see you till next time. But remember to, we need your contribution. It's hard work to come on to organize these programs. So we need your financial support. We ask God to bless your finances. We know you work very hard and you sweat for your money. By the sweat of thy brow, one shall eat bread. We want a little of this bread, but we ask that God continue to bless your finances and to provide you with 4 times the amount that you make. So please remember us when you are ready to give something. Doc, thanks again for your opportunity. See you next time next week. And everybody, have a good night. Blessed night to all. Thanks for listening. Until next time.
Good night.